السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري ويشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. صل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
All right, so we're reading Seedbed of the Light, page number 13 for us, 60 on the book. Second bullet point, the one that starts with the honor. The honor and distinction conferred on human beings require their deeds to be recorded and preserved. This honor and distinction does not exempt us from being called to account. Does humanity think that it will be left to roam at will, that it will be left uncontrolled? Each person will be called to account for even the smallest act in the place of supreme gathering and the eternal world. Destroying the world, raising the dead, and assembling them for judgment in the place of gathering are as easy for the divine power as creating spring and autumn. All past happenings, which are miracles of his power, testify that he can do whatever he wills and promises to do in the future.
So in this paragraph, I just went over and underlined the words that we need to emphasize on. Of course, you all know, here you come. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, first of all, this verse is very important. You know, يحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى. Does human being know that or think that they will be left alone, roaming around without no responsibility, equipped with such an enormous capacity? Impossible. Even the trees are preserved and animals are preserved. Now the people are talking about the immaterial beings are preserved in this, whatever the structure, atomic structure. So human beings definitely should be preserved, and also not for nothing. So my question was here when I went over it before we started the discussion. Human act. What do we mean by human acts? I think you can answer this. Human acts. Which kind of acts are to be preserved? If somebody or something are filming our actions and preserving them, or which kind of acts are preserved?
My first guess would be any act which is done consciously. So if I'm conscious of something, even if it's a thought or a physical action, but if I'm conscious of that, then at least I can testify that it's preserved for me in my memory.
That is in physical world. Yeah, for you.
Right.
Now, No, that is preserved. That's the witness that it is being preserved. But for what? This preserved acts will be evaluated, processed, and they are going to be used for something. Otherwise, if it was only within your memory, when you die, your memory dies as well.
It has to do with whether the act has a connection to eternity, or if the infinite source of it, and that will be preserved.
No, I think not the outward act is preserved by taking a film, but the value this act carries, not the outward act. So we shouldn't feel that, for example, I am thinking of stealing the banana here. Yeah? And my action will be preserved, but my thought, my considerations, as you said, what I am thinking of about the value of this act, so that I can use this act as a vehicle, as exactly as you said, what or where or to what I am referring this act to, where I'm referring, under which consciousness I am performing it.
One way that I also seem to understand it outside the material world is understanding that everything that you see and don't see, they're both recorded.
No, I mean, our seeing and not seeing is not important.
No, like whatever, as you said, the material action of you picking up something is recorded, but the meaning is also something we don't see.
Yeah, that is the difference.
Right. We hear and don't hear also, So I want to connect it to the the reference to things that we haven't experienced their existence in this world.
Yeah, I think that maybe really the meaning in the acts are to be preserved, not the physical outward appearance of the act. We can preserve the appearance, outward appearance of the acts, but in order to fulfill the purpose of our existence, the one who gave us existence, created us, wants to see why, with what consciousness we are performing this act. So this consciousness side must be preserved or reserved.
I have a question.
Yeah, I think we are on the same page. I'm very pleased to hear that really we understand not only usually the word intention is replaced here, always that, no, not your action, but your intention. But it is not enough to express the importance of the consciousness. For example, I may have a good intention, but whether I am referring the act or whatever I am doing and to its source, I mean, eternal creator, am I conscious of acting in the name of the creator, or am I really referring the act to myself? For example, if we say only intention, I have a very serious concern about the word intention, because intention is used really in the, of course, sources, the hadith sources emphasizes on the importance of intention, but ultimately it doesn't really give us enough serious consideration about the consciousness that we act upon. That consciousness is important. I may have a good intention, do something, but am I really referring this action to the Creator and acting in His name? That is more than intention, which is consciousness. So, but consciousness includes intention, but intention doesn't include consciousness. Occasionally, I refer to this word and saying that, look, if we just reduce everything to intention, it's not enough. So I may have a good intention, but does this good intention include the connection between me acting in a certain way and the creator of the action? I may have a good intention by saying that I am doing it, or not really using my life in order to get to know my creator and develop my awareness of my createdness. There is a difference. Yeah, your question or concern.
So when you said that the preservation, or I guess when I observe around me, or including myself, the preservation is happening within the object itself. And when I say the object, the material and immaterial preservation is happening within it, as far as my observation is concerned. For example,
observation in this world.
In this world.
Yeah.
So when I take a look at a seed or a flower, eventually results in a seed, then that seed preserves the immaterial side of things, the beauty that it's going to spring out when it turns into a flower, as well as the material side, which is turning into a physical form of a flower. So now to this point, when we apply our consciousness to an eternal source, or acknowledge the will behind the preservation, or the will behind the creation and destruction, or you can, whatever you want to call it, the evolution of an object to its source, how can I confirm that it's being recorded outside of this world?
It's being recorded by something not within this world. Did you mean that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, that was a part of my second question. Can you read out this last sentence? All past happenings.
Yes. All past happenings, which are miracles of His power.
Whose power? Although in the text it is clear that capital H.
Right.
Whose power? Let's vocalize it. His power.
Right.
Miracles of His power.
Right.
Who's He? His.
I would say the entity that's whose will is going into, or whose will is going into practice as I see it. So for example, if we were to look at the seed again, the seed does not have the will to turn itself into a flower. So whatever's will is actually going into creating that flower from the seed, that entity is His.
Yeah. So Creator's power, the one who gives them existence. I think we keep repeating this word, existence, gives existence, creates, but I think it needs to be emphasized rather than jumping into a certain vocabulary, such as God, or generally accepted language creator, but we have to make it clear. Whoever gives existence to the objects is, that is his power manifesting there. Make it clear, explain it, put it in your own word. When you use God, when you use creator, the people say, where did you get this idea? It needs a short, very short explanation. Make it clear. And also, when we hear this language continuously, whoever gives existence to anything in this world. So it also requires us to think about it. Who gives existence? Huh? Who is that giving existence to this thing? What can it be? The source of existence of the things. It really makes your mind alive. Questioning, investigating, and making sure that, is it possible that something within the universe can give existence? It's a very simple structure, but unfortunately, it is not established in the language of the believers. We always use the shortcut vocabulary, which bears some already, they call it value-laden vocabulary, like God, like creator. So the people question, what do you mean by creator? The things are there, but when you use a language, clearer language, which requires thinking, deliberate thinking, first, you feel most comfortable that you are sure that you are not using pre-accepted vocabulary. The second, this vocabulary also, when we use it in a public or with somebody else, requires serious thinking. Now, to make it without name, the one who gives existence to it. Who is that one? Now, it's inevitable to ask this question. That's why I emphasize on the importance of using our daily language without mixing up with pre-accepted vocabulary concepts. Yeah, I'm very sensitive about using the word Allah when you are reasoning and putting forward your argument. Don't use it. Use it outside of this class, not in this class, because we are trying to establish the methodology how we can confirm our belief and feel very comfortable about it without falling into any prejudice, any biased idea. So not in this class, but outside of this class, you use whatever you want to use. And instead of using Allah, I emphasize on the word God because it's English. But still, the word God is also a value-laden word. Yeah? Now, even more, even we have to go deeper. Even don't say God, but say the Creator. Still, it also includes in it that you accept that the things are created and their creator is something somewhere there, an object or something. But make it so we can, sometimes the author is very conscious of it. Now, this is the translation. In the translation, this consciousness may not appear on the text, but in the original that it does. So we have to understand. But also, for example, when the text uses divine power or something, still it requires what is divine. Yeah, what is divine? What do you mean by divine? Now, we have to watch out our language. I emphasize on this almost always. the language affects and shapes the way you think. Language is not the result of your thinking, your conclusions. But, yes, it is, but you have to always come back. How did you come to this conclusion? Use the language accordingly, so anytime you use your explanation of your conclusion, you reconfirm within yourself. That's why it is necessary to use the one who gives existence to the things, the source of existence of the things. I mean, you must be fed up with, but instead of saying God, I am using this expression. Why is it? Why some people find it difficult to follow this kind of way of thinking? Because they want to use an easy language. Say it, God, and finished. That's what we believe. But not everybody believes. Not also your soul believes. Did you get it? Your soul. It means the alternative side of your yourself. You know, anytime when you say something, the alternative idea or thought comes to your mind. When you say God, okay, but not everybody says God. Yeah, why did you say God? So you must have something behind this vocabulary to support this, and then this vocabulary should come out so that every time you use your own language, what you mean by God, you refresh yourself against this. They call it whisperings. It means alternative, because we always think in alternative. Without alternative, human beings cannot develop any concept, any understanding. Alternative. You have to say, this is right, this is wrong. Always. Whatever the language you use, always the alternative comes. But when you use the question form, the one who gives existence to it, what you do? No alternative. Is it true? What can it be? The one. What can it be who gives existence? You have to question. While you are questioning, you are refreshing your mind. And also the other people, the other human beings, they also have to think. Because they are labeling what? The believers as? The believers, those people are very simple-minded people. They take one word, God, and keep using it to explain everything. To explain everything. God did that. God wants this. God wills this. God will reward. God will punish. Who is this? What is that God? People don't know. Because usually they hear the word God from the people who just follow the tradition, their own religious tradition. They think that you are using the same word and also you are following the same tradition without knowing what you are doing. Why? How did you come to this word, God? Where did you find it? So when we use that, I found it in our text, it is even more dangerous. It means you are imitating the text. Then they will just laugh at you. Because of this bad experience in the society, we have to really watch out for our language while we are reasoning. So, come to your conclusion. His power, his will. Now, the one who gave existence to the things. Now, testify that he can do whatever he wills. Because the existence of the things show that they themselves cannot give existence to themselves, cannot put them in a certain form and shape and quality, cannot be the source of the qualities they have. For example, I'm not the source of my own human qualities. I know that. So this one, the one who gave me my existence and the existence to my human qualities, all of them, and whatever he wills, and promises to do in the future. My question is this, maybe related to your question from the side, not direct. Promises, how do we know? Promises, he promises that he will do it. It means he will resurrect. He will record and take it into account. Recording for nothing is pointless. The human mind doesn't really accept it. So everything is recorded, my acts, but my acts, the value of my acts. It means my consciousness while I am doing something. Everybody does something. Yeah, for example, if someone says, I'm doing something with a good intention, well, it means really, my simple example is, I am drinking water with a good intention. I'm not drinking alcohol. I don't want to disobey God, but while I am drinking water, what is my consciousness? Yeah, which kind of consciousness I have? What am I doing? Because human beings are expected to do something consciously, but we may not use it. We may use it. Depends on our attitude or decision, seriousness, concern. So whatever he wills and promises. How do we understand that our acts are preserved and there is a promise behind it? But the promise from the one who creates the act. Although we choose it, but he creates nothing. I cannot create it. If a person thinks of his reality, he understands. I think there is something at the back table, on the back table to be served. Please help yourself. Don't leave them here. No? Yeah, please. And also some more here. Yeah, would you like to get some?
Later.
Okay. Now, how do we know that he is promising?
So we know that this source of existence doesn't lie in the universe, so it has to exist outside of the conditions of this universe. The things or everything that exists in the universe is transient, pointing to its the nature of its creator, that is the opposite of it, it being eternal. The promise comes that because everything is transient, and it is being recorded, given that it is not transient. The reason why it is being recorded is because we have reason to believe that the source of their existence is eternal.
Yeah, to conclude it, we have reason,
right,
to conclude that they are going to be used.
Right.
And the source who gives existence must be eternal, absolute. Otherwise, he cannot be responsible for the existence of anything. He cannot create.
Right. So in a way, the promise is that there is eternity not here?
Yeah, there must be.
Right.
Yeah, because whatever is being done or coming into existence in this world does not really show that or demonstrate that they just come into existence for nothing. Because it infers the meaninglessness. But the things come into existence with flawed meaning. There's no meaninglessness. So it contradicts. So you say there must be something, they are going to be used. They are going to be used. But how, when, where, none of my business. None of my business. But they are going to be used. They must be used. Outside of the conditions of this transient world. That must be used. How? None of my business. I'm not going to do it. So I have to know how it's going to be used. And when, it is again not my responsibility. When, because when belongs, this when, where, this kind of language belongs to this transient world. But we are talking about that must be used for in another realm of existence. Because the transient world is transient, but this recording is not for the purpose of transient world only. Do I make sense? Okay.
I want to check my understanding. So if the actions were not recorded, it would render them meaningless.
Yes.
So we can conclude that they are preserved because we observe that creation is full of meaning, and the source behind it is conscious. Is that correct?
Yeah. There must be another type of existence, another type of creating, or giving existence to things, but not on a temporary base. It must be on a permanent base. We studied this aspect of the matter because human beings always expect everything in an eternal, permanent, and perfect form. And this, by using these human qualities, I conclude that there must be another realm of existence. But don't think about the nature of the realm of existence, another realm of existence. Why? What are you going to do? Are you going to be an engineer of this another realm of existence or what? What are you going to do? But our perception must be focused on there must be another realm of existence. And it depends, and this, how is this going to be? The one who gave me these senses and giving existence to this world. He must do it, whoever he is. I don't know who he is. Don't say that, don't you know God? Yeah, of course you don't. Do you understand the difference? Who knows God? Do you know? Do you know God? No, no one knows. But we are sure that such a being must exist. That is different. So knowledge and belief are different concepts. That's why we don't know, but we conclude about the existence and reality of his being.
Doctor, the word promise in this text refers to the permanent realm of existence.
There must be. If it was the same transient world, what is the point in changing it and making another realm, transient world? The human beings, human qualities are going to suffer again. No, from the transients. Yeah.
When you said earlier that the recorded things must serve some purpose that is
Yeah.
not in the transients, do you mean that's the not necessarily the physical thing, the physical parts of what was recorded, but the meaning?
No. The meaning is recorded.
Yeah.
Physical part, the recording of the physical part is just a sign that the one who gives existence to your physical body is just recording it. Now, we understand that. But the creation, as far as your human qualities, never forget that we should use our human qualities. Your human qualities, don't you want to taste physically? That's physically in this world. Not only in imagination.
Yeah.
No, you don't want only imagination or like you are dreaming.
Yeah.
Why don't you? I want to be physically really experiencing it, but my desire is whatever I want, I deserve, not deserve. I hope that it should happen, must happen in physical forms, but not in the transient form, but in the permanent physical form. That's what I am endowed with this sense. I cannot deny that sense. Or my conclusion is, whoever gave me this sense must have a reason. Because I didn't make myself desire eternity. I don't know. I found myself desiring eternity. Now, it is not my wishful thinking. It is a part of my existence. The wishful thinking, it can only happen within the conditions of this world. If I was rich, or if I were something, or something, but in this world. But hoping, expecting an eternal existence goes beyond the conditions of this world. So where did I get this idea? It doesn't exist within the world. Eternity. How did I develop this idea by myself? And it is not only me, every human being. Every human being. Say, oh, eternal happiness? Why not? Eternal happiness, eternal satisfaction. Why not? Eternal satisfaction. That is with human nature. So I have to refer it to the creator, the source of existence of this sense. That is very essential. Whoever, whatever gave this sense to me must be promising something. That is the promise. In my existence, I can understand, I can see the reason by looking at the universe, which is the existence of this world is not pointless, and it's meaningful. It refers to the qualities of its creator, whoever gave existence to them. So I say, I must conclude. I have no reason to deny that no, it cannot happen. There is no reason. There is no reason for anyone who will claim that no, there is no eternal life. But why do people claim that? There are many people claim that there is no eternal life. Where did they get it? Because their understanding of existence of this world consists within itself only. Of course, there is no eternity within the world, and if you really confine yourself to the conditions of this world, you have to conclude that there is no eternity. The eternity is they made it the word imagination, but still you have to question, where did you get this imagination? They have no answer. And this imagination is a common denominator for every human being. We want eternal happiness. We want never-ending existence.
In a previous session, we also established that existence in and of itself is the sign of eternity. That because we have not experienced non-existence, something that may exist just exists. It may exist in a transient form, in a different form, but it will exist forever or for eternity. Like in and of itself, if something is, it's eternal.
Yeah. So existence, even if, I am just repeating, but putting in another word. Existence, even in its transient form, points that existence must exist or continue to exist eternally. Because coming into existence is a sign that the source of this existence must be eternal. If the source is eternal, the act of existence must be eternal. That's my conclusion. I am not imposing on this, hey, yeah, you have to do it. Whatever you mean by the word, whoever gave, God or creator or something. God has to create, huh? You cannot command on God's will. You know that, but that's my conclusion. The word again, very frequently used word is conclusion, not faith, not belief, conclusion. Yeah, faith, belief, vague words. What do we mean by them? Now, as a human being, that's my inevitable conclusion. I reach this conclusion. Yeah. Now my question's finished now. The promise, how do we know that he promises to do in the future? In the future means that's the simple way of speaking. Future or, according to me, it is in the future. But as far as the source of existence is concerned, there is no future past. We cannot really refer any attribute, any vocabulary to the source of existence. Because whatever the vocabulary we use, we have to know that human language is developed as a result of our interaction, our experience with this world. We cannot develop a language. It is very important. I keep repeating this. But we have to know and register. We cannot develop a language which represents any object or any action outside of this universe. If you don't know the object, you cannot develop a language for it. But what you say, let's imagine something, but this imagination not real. Not real. If we imagine something. But how do you define this imagination? There's a very fine point where most of the people who propagate or advocate atheism don't always miss this point and just cover it up because they have no real answer. How do we develop our imaginations? Even, let's assume something in our imagination which doesn't exist in this universe, okay? But still, this assumption we assumed is in contrast with what we see in this world. For example, if I say there is a white pencil here, right? Let's assume that the pencil was black. Look, in contrast to this, it means in reference to what I have already seen. For example, the language we use, transient, Yeah, this word is transient. And as in contrast to this word transient, what we say? Eternal. Can you imagine eternal? What you say in explanation of the word transient, you say, excuse me, in order to explain the content of eternity, you cannot put anything in this word. There are no meaning in this word. Only what you say, transient. You see, with the opposite, not transient. For example, if I say, let's assume a man, a person. Let's as big as, let's say, a mountain. Again, what do you mean? Not as big as I am now, bigger than this. Can I really objectify it? No, only by its opposite. That's why we have to pay attention methodologically. If someone does not pay attention to the created nature of this world, it means they cannot come into existence by themselves, right? Createdness, that's what I see. It is made. It is being made, right? It is being made. I'm observing it. Createdness. Now, as opposed to this word, I develop a word creator, but I never can imagine the content of this word, the creator. Do you understand that? The language is very important. When we speak God, creator, divine being, all this kind of language do not have any content in our mind, really. But what is the content? Opposite. It's not mundane, it is not transient, it is not created. Look, all the negatives. It is not made, it is not subject to time, it is not subject to place. Look, we have to be very careful. When we use the word, for example, the creator, God, we think that we really mean something. No. We only mean with its opposite. It was not created, not transient. Because you cannot imagine which is not created. That is beyond human capacity. But you can conclude by paying attention to the createdness of this world. We are endowed with the quality to conclude that there must be a creator. Look, there must be a creator. Look at the language. There must be a creator. How do you describe the creator? He is not created. He is not dependent. He is not, or it is not the creator. It is not subject to anything. So it must have an independent existence. It means it must be self-existent. Can you imagine what is self-existent? Only with it is opposite concept which we experience in this world, which is, for example, self-existent, self-subsistent in its existence. I cannot imagine anything at all. But I say, it's not like me. It's not like the objects I see. Well, they are all dependent. They cannot sustain their existence. But there must be. Conclusion is that is the most important aspect of human capacity, that we can conclude about the existence of something which does not exist within the universe. But not imagine it, not give a shape, not give a form. We can conclude, I'm repeating the sentence, very important. We can conclude about the existence of something which does not exist within the universe. Did you get it? That the capacity must be always used. That is consciousness. I call it belief, or whatever we say, the conclusion, we come to the conclusion, which is called belief. Faith lies there. Awareness of the quality that we are given. Use this quality. Unbelief means denial, means rejecting this human quality. For example, that is why the atheist philosophers, or whoever they are, politicians to me, not the philosophers really. They are not really philosophers. They don't really think, really, seriously. They just make polemics, or they say, demagogues. They are demagogues. Be careful. Really, they are demagogues. Mix up the language. What they are talking about is not really clear at all. So they say, oh, we want to have an eternal bliss, eternal happiness. It is imagination. It doesn't really exist. Yeah, it doesn't exist in the universe, but the human beings are given we are given the quality to imagine, to understand, not imagine, to understand, to comprehend the necessary existence of something which is not transient happiness. But do we know the nature of it? No. How can you believe in something? That is the language this atheists use. How can you believe in something you have no knowledge of the nature of something, that it exists? I am not saying that I know the nature of the eternal happiness. I use my human qualities to conclude that, which gives me the opportunity to conclude that such an eternal happiness must exist. The content of it, no idea. Description of the eternal happiness, paradise in the Quran is, be careful, everything is described in the texts, not only the Quran, other texts as well, describes the paradise or hell in terms of this world. Because we cannot imagine the content of anything exists not in terms of this world. So it is a kind of science, using the science. Look, the one who created the, I don't know, for example, grapes, dates, grapes. Of course, the dates are the common fruit for the first audience. First audience is important. Conditions of the first audience. Now, for example, I have seen, but I might not have seen any date palm tree. Now, it doesn't mean anything to me. But it means for them, the first audience, date means everything. For me, apple is everything. Represents the act of creation as in the form of mercy, in the form of grace, and then out of dirt, apple comes. But for some people, banana. They have all banana orchards or plants. So for them, for example, how are we going to read the Quran to go to Kenya and speak? Are there bananas growing Kenya?
Yes,
So, yeah. So when you go there, you know, in paradise, you will have eternal bananas, not dates. They don't know what date is. Example, just that they may, I don't know really. So that is how the Quran must be understood. Not the first audience, but first audience is the example. Date represent for them the most common, available, everybody experience the existence, sure what it is. Now, you have to use the audience now, according to the conditions of the audience, the most common, available, and everybody experience that. In this condition, in this climate. So you have to say, plenty of the best apple orchards and endless in paradise. But the Quran doesn't give the, I don't know, I think it doesn't, tufah. It doesn't give the example of tufah in the Quran. Because for the first audience didn't have the experience of apples. Fakih, but I understand now, fakiyatun. But fakih is a general word, generic word, represents fruit. But we have to understand that. Even if I am wrong here, I don't really recall everything there in the Quran. But even if I'm wrong here, we have to understand that Quran must be read according to the conditions of the audience. Why? Because the Quran spoke to the first audience according to the wisdom requires that I have to read the Quran according to my condition. They understand that. It is frightening for some scholars. Why is it frightening? They will say, okay, according to your own conditions, you will interpret the Quran as you want, freely, and the Quran will not have a consistent idea. What they have to do, they have to limit it and freeze it, and that is what it means. So don't interpret it. It means it prevents you and I to interact with the Quran. So the Quran becomes an alien source to me. Do you understand that? No, talking about a certain condition, certain community, and speaking to certain community according to their own life conditions, and I am just reading a narration from these people, no, or a narration of the story of certain kind of people. And this is just a story for me for the past, and I don't know. I haven't experienced that. That's what they say. It's very dangerous. Of course, it is. We have to be careful. Arbitrary interpretation is different from making the Quran speak to you within your own conditions. So you say, this within my own conditions, I conclude this, finish. About you, I don't know. That's your business. Make it personal. Don't make it a general statement, that make it personal. So it is not an easy task, but at the same time, it must be achieved. That's why people, for example, do you see in the community the trend that the people don't study the Quran? They read hadith. They don't read the Quran together. When they get together, they are fond of the crazy about reading 40 hadiths of Nabawi. It's repeated every generation, 40 hadiths of Nabawi. Repeat. They don't study the Quran when they get together, because Quran is very universal. Hadith is universal, but you don't understand. Because it is speaking in terms of physical conditions, you think that that's what it is. But it is very dangerous, very dangerous. If someone doesn't understand the Quran, never should read the hadith. No, I will repeat it every day. If you don't understand the whole concept, the purposes, concepts of the Quran, methodology of the Quran, never read the hadith, because you will kill the spirit of hadith, reduce it to a certain action only. It's very dangerous, very harmful. And some people cannot stand that and deny the hadith because they don't know how to read the hadith. Even I see some serious people, public speakers, some sort of 20th century scholars, I listen to them, they narrate hadith. I am not better qualified than their knowledge, that's sure, I admit that, but their methodology is absolutely wrong, I am sure. So, we have to make the Quran speak to myself according to my conditions, and it is my conclusion. That's it. Make it personal. Don't make it general. Because the message of the Quran universal means the Quran addresses you personally. It is universal. But you cannot make it universal. Yeah, but make your understanding universal. Do you understand the contradiction there? Now, you cannot claim that your understanding of the Quran is the universal message of the Quran. Do you get it? But if the speech of the maker of this universe is the Quran, it must include you. That is different now. It must include you. It means you have to sit in front of the Quran and read it for yourself. But your conclusion cannot be the universal message of the Quran. Be aware of it. These two sides are contradicting each other. That's why people get confused. People say, no, not everybody can interpret the Quran. Yeah, not everybody can. Not everybody, forget about this. Nobody can claim that his understanding is the universal message of the Quran. Nobody. With no exception. How great the scholar is. His interpretation, his understanding, his experience, or her experience. Do you get it? Very careful. That is why the Quran must be, the speech of God must be universal. Why? Must include everybody in every condition. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the speech of my Creator. Right? But because of the consequence of this reading the Quran for yourself, recalls in the minds of the people that, are you going to read the Quran for your own conditions and within your own capacity and come up with a universal conclusion saying that this is what Quran claims? No. That's what their fear comes from there. That's why they really try to limit the approach to the Quran, like the Catholicism to the Bible, to certain qualified clergy. And at the same time, they say in Islam there is no clergy. There is no authority, absolute authority. There is no pope. They say this because they cannot deny that. But in practice, they say, no, you shouldn't read it. Listen to me. It means imitate me because I don't know your conditions. I am not in your position. I don't share your feelings. This is the fundamental subject that the readers of the Quran must be aware of. If we are not aware of this fundamental principle, then we cannot develop. We cannot open the Quran to everybody so that they will at least get in touch with it and try to get something for themselves. When they cannot make sense of it, it means there are obstacles. What are these obstacles? The concepts we read in the Quran, if the concepts we read in the Quran is filled with your understanding obtained from this world, not the Quranic concepts. and adopt the meaning put into the concept of the Quran and say that God is saying this. Right? That is a danger. We have to be aware of it and teach people, look, when you read the Quranic concepts, keep the concepts within the whole concept of the Quran, purposes of the Quran. If you cannot do it, educate yourself. It doesn't mean that imitate me. Educate yourself. Not to fall into a mistake. Don't cheat yourself. Don't repeat yourself. Again, if someone is not aware of this last point, when they read the Quran, they repeat themselves. They don't learn anything new. Why? For example, I have a certain understanding of the hereafter, right? Or I have a certain understanding of happiness, developed by the influence of the society. Now, when I read the Quran, it says happiness, خالدين فيها أبدا. They will be enjoying their existence, everything there eternally, and God will be pleased with them. They will be pleased with God. I said, okay, happiness means what he understands in this world. Do you understand? In this civilization, as a result of the influence of this culture. If someone is not aware of it, when he reads the Quran, takes the Quranic vocabulary and fills this Quranic vocabulary with the meaning he has obtained from secular civilization. Make the Quran speak as a secular source. Do you understand? Do you get this? It's very important. You wouldn't hear it from anyone, really, generally. That is why I have to be aware that, look, this book contains its own vocabulary according to the purpose of its own aim, target. What is it going to do? It is aiming at to take me. So it is not easy. So we have to see the vocabulary of the Quran within the objectives, purposes of the speech of the Quran. For example, can you read the biology book as a book of law? No, it is contradicts. Yeah, you have to read the biology book as a biology book, and every concept introduced to you there in the biology book must make sense in the field of biology. Yeah. But the same word may be used in law and also biology. But when you read it in a law book, it must make sense to you within the content of law subject. Yeah, discipline of law. So when you read the vocabulary from the Quran, it must make sense to you within the objects of the Quran. So you have to have a right definition of the Quran. What am I reading? When you read when you take the book, the Quran, in front of you, the Mus'haf, the book. Now, first you have to say what? The Quran says, when you start reading the Quran, you have to take refuge with in God. What does it mean? I mean, people say, "No, you have to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." It's ridiculous. What does it mean? Well, you can say it. Your tongue may say it. What do you mean? What do you mean by I seek refuge with God from the whisperings of Satan? It means from the cultural background. Read the Quran as the word of God, which means the one who gave existence to this world and gave existence to you as well as to your, or including your senses. Now, the creator of your senses, your human abilities, is speaking to you now. Don't make it polluted, soiled by the influence of the outside culture. So empty your mind now, put it there. And come to read the Quran, speech of your creator, addressing or opening up your human qualities and saying that what it means for me. No, questioning this. What does it mean for me? Even it says God, it says religion, it says Islam, it says insan, it says mountain. What does it mean? I know mountain, but I know mountain from my primary school education as the lump of stones, rocks. But the Quran says mountain. Within the context of the Quran, what mountain, the word mountain, can represent within the objects of the Quran. You are reading a special subject, like biology, like law, like history. So when you have this attitude, this training, the better you develop yourself in training in this attitude, the better understanding you get from the universal method of the Quran. I say, no, learning Arabic is not the secondary, third, fourth stage in order to understand, communicate with the Quran. In order to communicate with the Quran, first, step one, define what you are doing. What you are doing. And be aware that you shouldn't impose your own understanding on the vocabulary of the Quran. Step two. Yeah. Now I say, the Quran clearly says, before reading the Quran, you have to seek refuge with God. It means what you are doing is God's created speech. You are reading God's speech. The second is purifying yourself from the influence of the outside culture, which means you have to be cleansed. It means, we call it wudu. It means cleaning yourself from the influence of the outside world. It means really controlling or not controlling. Yeah. Being consciously aware of your bodily existence and your relationship with the bodily existence of the other objects in the universe. How do you represent this? By making wudu means I am controlling my body, not my body is controlling me, right? It's a ritual, but this ritual the ritual represents your awareness of, if you like, your soul, your consciousness, your understanding is overtaking the dominion of your carnal desires developed by the external secular civilization. All the things you learned in the school must be put aside because they are all polluted with secularist ideas and interpretations. Put aside. That is making wudu. Right? That's what I understand. It's the physical action, just refreshing yourself, your attitude by doing something physical. That's how we are. We cannot really get rid of our body, but declaring the control of your body by your consciousness. You are aware of what you are doing. This is the second stage before you start reading the Quran. And the third stage, before understanding the whole entire message of the Quran and understanding the methodology, the purposes of the Quran, you cannot specifically understand any sentence in it. Because this sentence, this is called verse, this sentence will make sense within the whole content of the Quran. What are you doing? Yeah, what is the purposes, objectives of this Quran? This is the third stage. Now, the fourth, the fifth, maybe the 10th to me, stage says, if you learn the Arabic language, I don't know which kind of Arabic language you will learn. If you are speaking Egyptian Arabic language, you will never get in that with the Quran at all. That's culture. So it is that a simple understanding of knowing Arabic. It's very simple-mindedness. So if you learn the Arabic language, you may get into the eloquence of the Quran now, rather than message of the Quran. How eloquent the sentence of the Quran or the speech of the Quran is, you can admire it, but you cannot believe in the Quran because it is so eloquent. Do you understand the difference? So if someone might have written a poem which is really eloquent, it doesn't mean that the content of the poem makes sense to you and you can approve it. Do you get it? Do you see the difference? People I think, did you get some brownie? Or go and get it, but keep yourself busy now. Make a wudu now. It means refresh your control over your body. So get something. Yeah. Did you understand now why people give priority to learning Arabic in order to understand the Quran? Because they take the Quran as our sacred word, and we will get the culture. We will get the information from the Quran. It means imitate it. Yeah, help yourself. And another, somebody else? Did you get it?
No, I don't want it. Thank you.
You don't want it? Oh, wow. Okay, please help yourself. Okay, your question. I think we covered today very fundamental subjects, which are not really taken seriously in the community, but must be taken seriously. Okay.
So from the sentence, each person will be called to account for even the smallest act in the place of supreme gathering and the eternal world. Can you elaborate on what the place of supreme gathering means in a moment-by-moment basis as opposed to the end?
I understand that the supreme gathering, they say everybody will be in front of God, but that is what the culture says. I don't really prescribe to it. Supreme gathering means, to my understanding, all your actions all together throughout your life, the given life in this world, everything will be gathered, collected, and that is what you are presented to you. Yeah, that's your reality. That's Hashr. Some people emphasize on the importance of the physical creation. Yeah, because we whatever the ideas or consciousness we experience in this world is represented in a physical form, right? In the physical form. You cannot have an idea and thought and not put it into practice. This is not really the thought. Because now, another point now, thinking, having or being conscious of something definitely needs to be based on a physical existence. That's how we are in this world. Based on your physical existence. Some people even go back to the reality that your dreams, even your dreams, are the results of your subconscious whatever memories. Yeah, physical. Because we cannot experience in this world which is not physically presented to us. Yeah. So that is our reality. So everything in the physical world needs to be performed or to be received with a certain condition, with a certain awareness and interpretation that human beings interpret this physical action, physical existence, interpreted. That interpretation is called consciousness, because we are given the ability to interpret the meaning of everything which exists, right? So without physical existence, what are you going to experience? You cannot experience anything. We established before, or that we talked about that. Even we can say that there must be a creator, something like that. You cannot really experience the physical existence of the creator. That is just a concept which is developed as an opposite of what we have experienced here, the opposite side of it. Creator means not created. We discussed this. So if you don't experience anything physically, you cannot develop any idea, any consciousness, any awareness about what this physical existence refers to in its opposite. You cannot. So all our thoughts and experience are combined with our physical actions. Hashir means, hashir is resurrection. Resurrection means this combination will be given a permanent existence. Gathered, all of them. That's what you are. Like the simple example, I keep using it. You attend the college. After the end of 4 years or 5, 6 years of education, what you get one paper. Yeah? Degree. What does the degree represent? The accumulation of your 5 years of education. What you learned. Yeah. Now, which qualities you are given, all of them are there. Yeah. When the resurrection takes place, you will be all with your whole life on earth will be gathered together, packed and put in front of you. That's what you are. That's your degree. Physical and your consciousness, awareness, your human abilities. But this must not be transient. The wisdom says, no, they shouldn't be transient. Permanent. What is permanent? No one can imagine permanence. Permanence is this. Who will define me what permanent is? Very simple.
Not transient.
Perfect. Not transient. That's it. Do you understand? Still your point of reference is this word. Transit. No, not transit. We have to understand, we have to decipher, we have to really realize our nature, our quality in our existence. Which kind of quality I have to reflect, to think, to use? The time is really up and late. I'm late. Now, that is the end of the paragraph. Inshallah, you got something, spring gathering, in personal level, you. But another person will be next to you, none of your business. And the Quran even says you wouldn't take notice of your mother, your brother, your father, your child, your spouse, your, I don't know, the most beloved person next to you. Not everybody will be busy with himself, yeah? يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه. It's a beautiful description of the, it means you will be with yourself, but with your whole summer of your life will be there. Quality of your life will be there. Gathered and put in front of you, presented to you, to me. Here you are, what you are. That's your degree. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful one. Very important subject we covered today, alhamdulillah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But these are not easy matters. We discussed very serious matters, needs to be explained in a book form. So we don't mind asking it, reflecting on it, asking it, bring all these matters we covered today can be brought into discussion 10 times, 20 times, if not really more. Because in the community life, this kind of things are all overlooked and omitted, skipped. Why? They don't have the answer. They don't think. Right? They just transfer culture. Okay? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة.